welcome back to the next episode of Gilded Shadows. I was doing a little bit more research into like the routes and the way everything is structured. Apparently, there's like two good endings. There's a passionate ending and a sweet ending. I will do both, as well as all the bad endings. Although I am curious as to what the difference is going to be between the two good ones. If the sweet ending will sort of be like a like a best friends sort of trope, or if there will still be romance, but it just won't be quite as dramatic. We'll see. Anyway, let's jump back into it. Oh, common route endgame interlude. Okay, so that answers that. So we are officially. I'm gonna save here just just in case. We are officially through like the generic common route and into the end game part. I was aware of voices before I fully awakened. Two of them, male and speaking in low words that were a mere buzz. My head throbbed as I tried to work up enough saliva to swallow. Everything was hot. It felt like I was dying, but I couldn't die. I forced my eyes open and, through the haze, saw two people leaning over me. Hey, this is the guy from the from like the cafe. He was at the cafe, right? Because I remember there was like a bag of like fruit or something involved, and he said his coworkers were yelling at him, and then he inferred that he was there to meet someone and that it was us. That's him. A broken, disordered series of images flashed through my mind. The car, the explosion, gunshots, a strange man with odd eyes. It wasn't a dream. The realization hit me and I let out an undignified shriek as I bolted upright. Where was I? I didn't know these people. In the back of my head, I did think they were vaguely familiar, but most prominent was the feeling of terror. I acted on instinct. The men jumped back, but I was already launching myself up and away from the bed. I saw a blurry head of blonde hair try to duck away, but not before my elbow connected with it. Magnus! He and I hit the ground at the same time, but I didn't stop. The other man came around the end of the bed, but I scrambled away. I have to get home. I burst through the door into the hall, my bare feet slapping against the tiled floor. Everything hurt, but I still ran. The people in the hall were blurs and colored bobs as I sprinted past. A few of them reached for me, but I shouted and staggered away from them. One was a blonde doctor who was just seconds too late to grab me. Where was I going? I didn't know. Outside, I hoped. I rounded a corner, almost toppling as I tried to make the sharp turn. My fingers brushed the floor as I steadied myself and continued to flee. Behind me, people were following. I ran past rows of chairs, stopping to pull out some into the path. Why couldn't I find an exit? My head hurt so much. Spots swam in and out of my vision. Every memory and thought felt disconnected, discordant. There was only the vision of fractured rainbow light and the sound of everything crumbling around me. I bolted past door after door until I thought I would vomit. It was a maze with no way out. I turned down another corridor, confronted with a blurry dead end ahead. The voices behind me drew close, so I veered into a room on my right, and slammed my hands onto a control panel to shut the door before shoving a bed across it. I made sure it was wedged against the inner lip so the door couldn't slide open easily. No windows, no way out. I backed against the far wall, using it to lean against as I stared at the now blocked exit. Where had they taken me? Who had taken me? Someone tried to open the door. The bed made a horrific scrape as they pushed it back slightly. I grabbed a glass jar with swabs from a nearby counter and hurled it at the door. That's effective, MC. It shattered, and whoever was trying to come inside jerked the door back shut. Oh, okay. I guess it was. I take it back. I spoke too soon. Voices spoke right outside, one angry and one amused. Well, I can guess who the angry one is. Can I take Caleb for 100? I gripped my skull and slid down the wall with a soft groan. The voices argued, and I let my head drop against my knees. I remembered the rainbow room, the woman shooting at us, a man with strange eyes. But not much more. How long had I been unconscious, and where was I now? Someone tried to open the door again, and I struggled to my feet to respond with another glass jar. Stay away. There were a few moments of silence. The door opened a few centimeters. "We're not going to hurt you." I said stay away. I readied another glass jar just in case. "Out of curiosity, what will you do once you run out of glass jars?" I responded by throwing the one in my hand. The door slammed shut, but this time I heard laughter. I hit the floor again, straining to hear what was being said outside over the roar of blood in my ears. I was so hot, dizzy. My heart felt like it was about to explode. What should I do now? "So how long do you think this standoff will last?" The man with the amused sounding voice. She shouldn't be she shouldn't be out of bed, awake or not, much less tearing through the halls screaming and throwing things. It's a wonder she can even move. I'm sorry about the voices, guys. I have no idea who is talking. Like, so I don't know how to adjust my voice. At the last check, she was still running a high fever and her blood pressure was very nearly at the level of hypertensive crisis. Oh, great, yeah, so we were about to what, have a heart attack? That was a different voice, one I hadn't heard before. "What were you fools doing that she slipped past you anyway?" "Well, she woke up pretty damn suddenly. We weren't expecting her to bolt up and knock one of us out. She broke my glasses, too." So now there were at least three people, the grumpy voice, the amused voice, and someone else. "You imbeciles, we need to get her out of there." At the moment, she seems intent on throwing something at anyone who opens the door. Am I supposed to believe that is enough to stop you lot of monsters? Oh, wow, harsh words. A fourth voice broke in there. "If we startle her too much, she may—" I couldn't keep up any more. I shut my eyes, though it didn't stop the feeling of everything spinning like crazy. So I'm guessing she used some of her Esper abilities to, like run really fast down the hall since everyone was a blur, and now she's sort of rebounding from it again. Let's take a second to check the relationships here. Okay, we are highest with Ari. Perfect. Great. That is the goal. Second highest with Caleb, which makes sense since we are on the endgame route. Even though that's still sort of curious. Let me see. I think that'll be it. The voice faded to a dull murmur. Or the voices faded to a dull murmur. After some time, I had a vague awareness of the door opening again. I scowled and jerked my head up. The movement sent my vision reeling, and I had to brace myself against the nearby cabinet to stay upright. The figure silhouetted in the door. They were familiar. It was... Okay, well, not the grumpy kidnapper, because that's definitely Caleb. The blonde guy from earlier, I'm assuming that is, who I know to be... I don't remember what fake name he gave us when we met him, but he's Magnus. I don't know who the doctor in the hallway is. No clue who that's supposed to be. But I think the tall kidnapper is Ari, so we'll go with them. Oh, it even tells us. How nice is that? Okay, let's save here. For a moment, the man just stood in the doorway. I couldn't see his expression clearly, but I knew him anyway. The tall kidnapper, his name was Ari. I spoke first. "Where am I?" "You're at Cor Solaris. Do you not remember?" I... My voice trailed off as a memory surfaced, or tried to. I sort of recalled being in an alley with him and a woman in a white uniform. I don't know. My head is a mess. It hurts. It's hard to think. He stood there a moment longer before he came across the room towards me. Is this Ari's music? Because I don't think I've ever heard this music in the game up until this point. It's very pretty. I wanted to get away but didn't have the energy. Everything hurt. The world spun around me, or maybe I was spinning. When Ari reached for me, I flinched, but he simply placed a cool hand against my scorching forehead. "The doctor said that you have a fever. I'm hardly a physician, but your face is very warm." In a daze, I caught his hand and pressed his cold fingers to my cheek. That's right, she was like really flirty with Ari when she first met him. Feels good. Strangely, he let me do it. "Morgan, will you return to your room with me so they can continue your treatment?" Your sigh fatigue appears to be severe, and you've only exacerbated it by trying to flee. I shook my head, regretting the movement when it sent spikes of pain and dizziness through me. I moved a little closer, steadying me as I swayed. I just leaned against him for the time being, wishing the room would stop spinning. Don't want to, I want to go home. Is that why you fled? I don't know. I didn't remember where I was. Woke up with people over me. I panicked. I understand. And I regret to inform you that you'll be unable to go home for the time being. In addition to your medical condition, which is quite poor, it is also unsafe. Yeah, but be real, Harari. That is not the reason why you guys will not let her leave. His voice started to fade into a buzz, but I tried to keep focused. He was saying I couldn't go home. I already knew that. I squeezed my eyes shut. You'll be well cared for here. No one will harm you. Will you stay with me? I didn't know why I asked that. If you wish. I don't want to be alone. I'll stay with you if you return to your room. I nodded and made a muffled noise of agreement. Everything hurt. I wanted to sleep, but I didn't want to wake up surrounded by strangers again. It's interesting that she remembers Ari but doesn't remember any of the other guys. Ari picked me up effortlessly, and I settled against him, hot, dizzy, and feeling awful. When we stepped into the hall, several people were waiting. A man I assumed was the doctor and some others. I thought one was the blonde I hit in the head. Nice aim, Morgan. He was a blurry white and yellow blob, but I could hear the smile as he fell into step beside us. The lady killer strikes. Oh my. Okay. The lady killer strikes again. I knew sending you was a good idea. So Ari is the lady killer. Please lower your voice. She appears to be in significant pain. I'm sorry, that's so funny. Of course she's in pain. She's lucky it's only the pain and that she isn't off in a lonely corner somewhere dying. Okay, Caleb 2.0. Hello. Doctor, perhaps you should lower your voices. That's the doctor? What a great bedside manner he has. Perhaps you should lower your voice as well. In addition, I doubt scaring her will be of any help in this situation. Ari? Yes? Do you really kill women? I felt the gentle rise and fall of his chest as he sighed. Go to sleep, Morgan. I don't know why. I don't know why I found that so funny. Okay. So I did. I didn't even remember the walk back, much less being returned to my room or anything that happened after. Ari's route! We are officially on Ari's route, guys. Chapter 1. Okay, so the chapters restart once we get on the individual routes. It's interesting. Core Solaris. The shift from sleep to waking was abrupt. My dream was crystal clear for a split second before it faded into nothing, and I was left staring at a blank ceiling. From above me, I heard the steady hum of medical equipment, soft beeps, the gurgle of an IV. Trying to sit up was not a good idea. The moment I moved, a wave of dizziness hit me, bringing nausea with it. I put a hand onto my face, swallowing hard to quell the roiling queasiness in my stomach. My eyes also felt strange. Part of my mind was making some attempt at working out where I was, but the rest of me was just trying not to vomit. A shuffle of movement nearby alerted me that someone was there. They stood the moment I turned, moving into my line of sight. As soon as I saw him, everything came flooding back. Being grabbed off the street, the vivarium where the woman attacked us, the man in the dark corner, Jack. This had to be Core Solaris. Alright, the headquarters of Endgame. It is a massive complex located in... I thought we read this already. Yeah, I don't know why it's showing this as new vocab, but we've read that already. I managed to struggle into a sitting position. Ari watched me wordlessly, his body tense. You shouldn't try to move yet. There was so much I wanted to ask. How long I'd been asleep, if I really was at their headquarters, what had happened while I was unconscious. My thoughts were too jumbled for me to form coherent sentences. Ugh. I. No! Caleb, go away. Not going to lead up and elbow anyone in the head this time. Or leap up and elbow anyone in the head this time. Until he spoke, I hadn't even realized Caleb was standing near the door, arms crossed over his chest, glaring. What does he look so mad about? Wait. It took a moment for my brain to catch up to what he said. Elbowing someone in the head? The words came out as a hoarse croak. My mouth was so dry. Trying to speak felt like coughing up sand. Ari paced around the bed to the table on my other side. I watched him with bleary eyes as he poured water from a carafe I hadn't noticed earlier. Drink this. You've been in and out of consciousness for several days. Oh, great. So, I just thought it was like, I don't know, maybe 8 hours? He lifted the cup to my mouth to help me drink. What, several days? I covered Ari's hands with mine, but didn't take the cup from him when I realized how much I was shaking. Better? I nodded, wiping my face. Where am I? I still sounded hoarse, but at least I got the words out this time. You are at the Cor Solaris in our medical ward. Why do I feel like I was hit by a cargo transport? Because you're recovering from a rather severe case of psi fatigue, presumably. And what was Caleb saying about elbowing someone in the head? Do you not recall when you woke up and tried to escape? No. The last thing I remembered was being in that alley with the woman in white. How convenient. Caleb, can you just go? Can you just leave the room, please? I let out a slow breath, not wanting to pick a fight with someone right after waking up. I would. Morgan, you're a better woman than me, because I would be all over that. And especially not when I still felt like last week's rubbish. If something happened, it would be more helpful to just tell me what it was without being cryptic. You nearly gave the leader of Endgame a concussion when you elbowed him in the head during your little escape attempt. So, Magnus is the leader of Endgame. That's a interesting little fact. I stared at him with what must have been a confused expression. My what now? Your escape attempt. You ran down the hall in a delirium-induced terror. You barricaded yourself in a room and spent half an hour throwing glass jars at the door any time one of us attempted to enter. Ah! It set off a massive panic throughout the entire medical wing as we all tried to figure out how the hell to get you back into your room without hurting anyone. For the record, none of that sounds remotely familiar to me. You had a high fever at the time, and you weren't in a normal state of mind. Ah, so Caleb's just using it as an opportunity to yell at me? Though it wasn't my fault? Caleb, if you're going to antagonize her, perhaps you should leave. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, my sweet boy. Caleb, go away. His jaw worked as if he wanted to say something else, but he turned and left the room, his heavy footsteps disappearing into the hall. Like, they kidnapped MC. They're pretty much like, teleporting her all over the place, and she gets sick. And then she, accidentally teleports herself. She suffers from like 2 bouts of whatever the psi fatigue is, and all he can do is, complain. I stared after him, blinking my eyes a few times before giving him a good rub. Is angry his natural state, or does he just hate me in particular? He's on edge, which often manifests as being short-tempered with others. Okay, well, given what his job is, he's probably on edge a lot. So you know that it's not reassuring. He's on edge because I was delirious enough to elbow someone in the head? Well, and the barricading myself in a room and throwing things. That isn't the only reason. Did I do something worse than that? I was eventually able to enter the room and relocate you back to your bed. However, since then, you've had several surges of unstable psi energy. Your previous room was badly damaged along with some medical equipment. Was anyone hurt? Nothing serious, only mild abrasions. Thank goodness. The uncontrolled power surging was likely brought on by the stress of your attempted escape. They attempted to place a psi inhibitor on you for your own safety, as you were increasing your fatigue symptoms. Okay, so psi inhibitor. A device that is able to cancel out psi or suppress psi waves, rendering a person's psi unusable. These are variations, or there are variations in how they work, as well as whether they weaken or fully suppress psi. The usual technique involves some kind of destructive interference to a person's psi waves. But some psi inhibitors also focus on suppressing a person's nanosystem in specific ways that can interfere with psi. This latter technique only works on N-class espers. Because of the complexity of ranked esper psi waves, many inhibitors dampen but do not fully suppress the esper psi. But it had no effect on your abilities. An esper immune to psi inhibitors is uncharted territory for endgame. Hence, everyone is on edge. Oh, so you're on edge because you can't control me. I see. It sounds like I caused quite a lot of problems. It was more worrying than inconvenient. For a while, I believe they feared they would lose you. Oh, that's great. Wow, that bad? Exactly how long have I been there? Or been here? 4 days. I sank back onto the bed, trying to take that in. 4 days. This psi fatigue thing seems pretty serious. To be honest, I didn't know much about it, though the name made it obvious what it was. Your condition has stabilized considerably in the last 40 hours. The incident 4 days ago caused a swell in your psi development similar to what we see in some children when their psi first emerges. If their growth occurs too quickly, we refer to it as a power surge. It's a relatively common phenomenon. A power surge is a sudden and dramatic increase in a person's psi energy. Surging can be caused by numerous situations: emotions, psi overuse, or even awakening. Though uncommon, even normal people and pseudo-espers can experience a power surge if they are put in a very emotional, stressful situation. Though mild to moderate surges are considered normal, it is possible for someone to experience a massive power surge all at once during stressful situations. These are dangerous and can lead to severe psi fatigue, fade, I wonder what fade is, or even burnout. This is a particular issue for F-class espers, whose psi is generally more sensitive to their emotional states. Yeah, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that hers is probably extremely sensitive to her emotional states. Although it does make me wonder what her past was like, because I mean, she had to have been had stressful situations in the past, so for it never to have come up before. It can also occur in adults during times of emotional stress. There's no need for concern. Sounds more like it's everyone else that's concerned. You produced one of the largest psi bursts any of us have ever seen. For your abilities to verge on spiraling out of control was disconcerting. Our doctors are not accustomed to dealing with uncontrollable psi at this strength. While children lack control, their psi is also less developed. Even queen ranks? Yes. The previous queen learned to control her abilities before they neared your current level. I rubbed my forehead again, trying to parcel that information. What happened to their previous queen? Because, I mean, the way that they said that, I mean, it sounds like she was killed or something. What happened to all the people who were, chasing and attacking us? If you're concerned about your safety, I assure you none of them will be able to reach you here. Endgame's headquarters, huh? I want to get up and look around. I don't believe that's wise. You can always have a look when you've recovered more. I want to look around now. What's the problem with that? Throwing the blanket back, I tried to swing my legs over the side of the bed. Here's a Nora coming out of our lovely Morgan. Like, she's apparently been like blacked out for the last 4 days. Hasn't even been conscious enough to eat something, drink any. Well, I guess she did have a drink, but that's it. Like, but maybe take it slow, Morgan. Ari put his hands on my shoulders to stop me. Morgan, you need to rest. Okay, so we can ask him to please let you go. Stay where you are for now, or push his hands away and get up anyway. I feel like if this was Morgan, she would push his hands away and get up anyway. I mean, me personally, I would stay there, right? I wouldn't ask him to please let me go because we've tried like sort of asking Ari nicely before, and that hasn't worked so well. But I feel like this is the one that she would probably do. I shrugged his hands off and pushed him away. I want to see where I am. I told you where you are, and I want to see it with my own eyes. Then you don't believe me? He didn't seem angry at the idea, only baffled. What a curious reaction. I sighed as I got shakily to my feet. I believe you, Ari, but that doesn't mean I don't need to see it myself before I can relax. I've been through a lot. I rolled the stiffness out of my neck and shoulders. It was surprising I wasn't in more pain, but that was probably a testament to how long I had slept. You just woke up, only a few moments ago after sleeping for several days. I'm certain it would be better if you waited. I'm going for a short walk. I won't die from that much. You can come with me or I can go alone. But short of you holding me down or tying me up, I am going. Ari crossed his arms, resting one hand against the side of his face. He tapped his forefinger against his temple as he looked at me. And finally, he turned and went to a nearby cabinet from which he pulled a set of clothes. I'm not concerned that you'll die. There's a large gray area between something being unwise and something involving death. Alright, I think it was a figure of speech. Like trying to run away. I'm not concerned about that either. Well, he could teleport after all. Even if I couldn't mimic him, I wasn't up, or even if I could mimic him, I wasn't up for a game of chase, and I suspect he knew that. Ari stepped away and pressed the button on the wall, which caused a thin divider to slide open and block my view of him. If you're not concerned about me running away, why are you so hesitant for me to go on a short walk? With one glance back to make sure I had privacy, I stripped out of the gown. I tossed it on the bed, pausing to steady myself once. Sigh fatigue is a serious ailment, Morgan. Perhaps you're unaware of how serious since you didn't use your abilities until now. However, the fact is also likely why your case was so severe this time. As I told you, it was bad enough we were concerned we'd lose you. Something in the way he said that irritated me. Afraid you'll lose your new Esper right after finding her? That would be a shame. The words sounded far more bitter than I intended. I would be advertising that bitterness. Like, that, I mean, that's why they want you. It's not like they're like, oh, I care about you so much. No, like, they view you as a tool. Ari was silent a moment, and I wasn't sure if he was taken aback by my tone or trying to find a diplomatic way to answer. It would be false to imply that wasn't part of the issue. Yeah? Espers of your caliber are rare, so losing you straight away would have been a serious loss for Endgame. I knew it. The Council, in particular, would have been devastated. Well, you know who else would have been devastated, Ari? We would have been devastated because we would be dead, okay? Endgame Council. Endgame's council is a ruling body that heads the entire organization. The 9-person council is made up almost entirely of non-Espers. That's weird. And are considered the final decision makers for all of Endgame's most important decisions. The council delegates day-to-day decisions to department heads and other leaders within the organization, but big decisions are always debated by and decided upon by the council itself. The council is advised by some Espers or Esper groups, such as the head king rank and the Morai. We've seen that word before. Where did we see that? But though considered the head of the Esper forces, many consider Magnus Ulrich little more than a figurehead at the beck and call of the council itself. Oh, really? I don't understand why we have this whole, like, army of Espers ruled by these 9 people that are not Espers at all. And why are they listening to them? You know what I'm saying? Because we're the ones with the power. I'm interested to see what this dynamic is like. But you shouldn't assume that's the only reason. Losing any citizen is a tragedy we try to avoid, whether they're one of us or not. I don't feel like he's making it better. I feel like he's trying to make it better, but he's not. If you had died, it would have been a critical failure by those of us sent to retrieve you. Ari, just stop talking. I sat on the bed to pull out my shoes, mulling that over. Mission failure, huh? As you don't seem to need help, I'll wait outside. We should be quick about this, otherwise Dr. Sasaki will notice, and he will not be pleased that you're up. I heard the door open and shut. It was almost cute that he stayed because he thought I might need help changing. I had assumed he waited around so he could catch me if I tried to run. Oh, that's what I assumed too. He was a strange man. Alone for the first time since I woke up, I finally just took a moment to breathe and get my bearings again. It all happened. Some memories were a little hazy, but it was all real. That was difficult to grasp. A few days ago, my world was school and exams. Now it was one of Esper's and being chased and shot at. How does that just happen? What am I supposed to do now? I set two fingers against one of my eyes. No amount of rubbing them would help. A door I had chained shut my entire life had opened, and now I could see through it. I glanced at the empty cup on the bedside table. It was like I could look at it and see the force of the cup pressed against the table, and the table in air pressing on the cup. I couldn't really see it. It was more like an awareness. It was like I knew exactly how hard to push to make it fly across the room or to snap it in half. The cup wobbled, and I shifted my attention elsewhere as a slight stabbing pain lanced through my temple. This wasn't what I wanted. What would Mom and Dad think of it all? Did they even know where I was? I tried to pull up my messages because if Endgame hadn't contacted them, Mom was probably in a panic by now. But nothing. The message screen wouldn't even show. What? It wasn't possible to my access to the net was still cut. It didn't make sense if I'd lost connectivity because of someone dampening the connection while we were at that vivarium. Jacket says that maybe my psi was impacted as well, but that was 4 days ago. Hadn't Ari said my psi stabilized? Is it possible Endgame cut my connection? I think it's very possible, because they don't want you trying to, get out, or contact anyone that might help you to get out. Keeping me here whether or not I wanted to be here and isolating me with no connection to the outside world was not helping make Ari's case about me not being a prisoner. I finished dressing and went to join him in the hall. As promised, Ari was waiting right outside the door. I was beginning to think you needed help after all. Sorry, I didn't mean to take so long. He motioned for me to follow as he started away from my room. There is a common area right outside the hospital wing. It has a partial view of the compound that should satiate your need to see where you are. I guess I'll be satisfied with that. I found the step beside him. He was walking slowly, something I assumed was for my benefit. I can't connect to the net. Is that something you did? Not me, personally. I meant you in the general sense, Ari. You're receiving a bioexpansion to your nanosystem. My understanding is the primary reason you were taken offline was because of that. That's a very evasive way of answering the question. An expansion to an individual nanosystem then involves adding a network of nanites explicitly programmed to rapidly heal and rebuild damaged cells and body parts. Though all nanosystems do minor body repairs and can expedite the healing of minor injuries, most nanosystems are limited in their ability to affect cell function in this way. The bulk of an individual's nanosystem is designed to connect to the net and other nano-driven technology. The nanites in a bioexpansion are explicitly programmed to interface with a person's body functions. Like all nanoexpansions, bioexpansions are not fully available to the public as a treatment. This is in part due to the expense involved, but also due to the stress it puts on the body, and uncertainty regarding long-term impact. Oh, okay. It's simply not approved for general use. Endgame makes copious use of bioexpansons for agents, though, and there are places one can obtain illegal nanoexpansions, including bioexpansions. So they're all using this technology and they don't really know the long-term effects that it has on them. That seems really, 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 not a good idea. A bioexpansion? Why? We all have them for the purpose of speeding cellular regeneration and healing. I believe they thought it would help you recover as well. Suppose that makes sense. I wasn't happy about still not having having connectivity though. Even so, I shot Arya a half-hearted smile. I don't suppose that means I won't have to sleep anymore? Ari shrugged and didn't return the smile. This is giving me flashbacks to the time that they first met when she was like flirting hard with him and he was like just not having any of it. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the episode here. And yeah, we will see sort of where things go. Um, we're finally getting into Ari's actual route, so I have no idea what to expect, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.